See. All right, we're streaming. Holy cow, and on time. What the crap? We are on the air. All right, guys, this is Hack Nation Live with your host. I'm your host, Aaron Bennett. We do this show every Wednesday night from 7 to 9 Central Time. This is a caller-centric show. It is a call-in show where you guys drive the conversation and kind of help decide what we talk about here. The number to call in is 573-422-4225. There's nobody in the queue, of course. We just got rolling. So if you want to be the first caller and you got something you want to talk about, call right in. If you're watching on TikTok, I say this every time, but and you want to hear the caller, you have to go stream it on either Facebook or YouTube. From there, you can see, or actually hear rather, the caller, and it's a much better show from there. Not that I don't appreciate you guys watching on TikTok, but you can't hear the caller, so that makes it a little one-sided show, right? I'm just talking to myself basically. But for now, if there's any questions, I'll take any of those and try and get to them before we start getting any callers. Again, guys, the number is 573-422-4225 if you want to call in. If you've never seen this show before, I do this every Wednesday from 7 to 9 Central Time. And I just come on here and try and give some of my time to answer any questions people might have, mainly to try and help people out with truck problems, stuff like that. Oh, shit. And I just closed out my, that's not good. I just closed out my live stream, StreamYard. That's not good. Oh, I guess I didn't completely close it out. It's still going. Oh, there we go. Inner studio. Oh. What did I do here? What did I do here? What did I do here? Oh, there it is. Okay, it's still going. I messed up for a minute. I closed out the window, but it looks like it's still up. I think it's still up. Again, guys, let's see, real quick. I was just at a shop and ran my truck temp to 226 on a C15. What do I think? What do I think about what? 226 is not going to hurt anything if that's what you're asking. Your engine fan doesn't come on until 218. You're not really hurting anything until you get up, around 230 something, 235. That's really starting to get pretty freaking hot. But 226 probably isn't a problem. Are you guys hiring any diesel mechanics? No, not right at this minute. We're not hiring, but we're not actively trying to hire anybody. To be honest with you, I'm a little shaken up about what's going on here with just on the world stage. A lot of people, I made a video a couple days ago talking about how the price of everything's going to go up. And a lot of people ridiculed me and this and that. And my main supplier, our local main supplier, brought me a flyer today that was warning me that in the next 7 days, I can expect up to 140% price increase across the board. And at minimum, a 40% increase on everything. But anything, brought in from overseas, about 140% increase. And I thought I had 30 days with highway and heavy parts, but they have put us on a notice that we have to check back every 5 days for new pricing. So it's escalating much faster than I thought it was going to. For all the people, for some reason, getting in my comments saying how dumb I am, right back at you. I told you guys this was coming. The call-in number is 573-422-4225. I just saw somebody asked, We have no callers. First time we haven't filled up the call list right away. But I can tell you guys, it's going to get really bad. It's going to get really bad. And I can explain why if anybody's interested. But long story short, you guys got to think about this. It's going to hit the trucking industry the hardest, mainly because here in the next 20 to 30 days, you're going to start seeing the last of the products coming to the United States before the tariff, which this tariff is actually an embargo. Once it gets that kind of high, it's absolutely is an embargo. There's no parts, there's no supplies, there's nothing coming into the United States. So what do you think all the people that pull containers out of the port are going to do? What do you think all the people that take all those containers and run them all over the United States are going to do? That's your over-the-road guys. They're all going to be without a job, and they're going to be without a job in a very, very short amount of time. We're talking 20, 30 days, and they're going to flood out into the other markets. Guys that are hauling hot oil and asphalt and ag stuff, which your ag stuff's going to fall apart too, because China's one of the reasons our ag does so well, and they have committed not to buy any ag from us. So bottom's going to drop out of that. And then you have your fuel prices are coming down rapidly because demand's going down. But if you take all of the over-the-road truck drivers over the next 30 days and take them off the road, you haven't seen nothing yet when it comes to the oil price going down. China made a commitment to stop buying petroleum products from us. That spiraled. We're already down into the zone where it's not profitable. It didn't have to go down much more, and the oil companies will start shutting it down. So your over-the-road guys aren't going to be able to flee to the oil field. They're not going to be able to flee to the ag stuff. So they're going to be after every little niche on planet Earth, and the trucking industry is going to go absolutely in the toilet in record time, in my opinion. You can believe whatever you want, but just look. That's what's happening right now. And on top of that, to compound that, the price of everything that a truck driver is going to have to pay for, if he wants to maintain his stuff, it is already going so high, it's astronomical. We're having to change our quotes every 5 days. We haven't changed our pricing. I'm going to try and hang on to our pricing for as long as I can. I'm hoping to do that for 2 or 3 months even, but our parts guys, that's not happening. Their prices are changing rapidly. The price of everything that we get, from brake cleaner to coolant and oil, everything's going up. Even though like all of those 3 products I just named, they're all the ones I use are made in the United States. It doesn't matter. It trickles over because that's the way the global economy works, right? So everything goes up. It's not just, oh, don't buy stuff made in China. Well, that's not how it works, right? It's like guys getting on my guys are saying, oh, Aaron's only mad because his parts kits, he's not going to be able to blah, blah, blah. That's not even true. Our parts kits are actually made in the United States, believe it or not. And we're hoping to have them done here shortly. But even the steel for the piston crowns, is it made in the United States? Yeah, the steel's made in the United States. Then it gets shipped overseas. Then it gets turned into rough plugs. Then it gets shipped back. Then it gets final machined. That's how the way comparative advantage works. So, guys don't get it. It affects everything. I think it's going to get really, really bad. I'd like to give few advice pointers to guys out there, especially guys that are new into trucking. I've been through 3 collapses in my life, owning a business every single time. The 2008 collapse. I owned a construction company and had 30 homes on the market in the 2008 housing collapse. I have a lot of gray in my beard, guys, believe it or not. And in the 2015 oil collapse, I know how to pick my businesses for sure. In the 2015 oil collapse, I owned a trucking company servicing the North Slope oil field. And those are rough times. Both those times are really rough times. And then in the 2020 COVID oil collapse, I owned the biggest trucking company I had to date when that happened, and I was servicing the North Dakota oil field. So I've been through 3 collapses. I was able to survive the last 2 of them from learning from the first one to not be in debt. And what I would advise you guys out there, while you still have work, especially if you're making payments on a truck. Make those payments out as far as you possibly can. If you can get your payments out 6 months or even a year, that would put you in the best position to ride this out. You need to be in a position where you can park your truck. I know nobody wants to hear that, but the guys that will come out on the other side of this and be able to capitalize on less trucks being out there and stuff like that are the guys that own a truck on the other side of it. And in trucking, and this has been, I've always believed this, in trucking, if you want to survive in trucking, I don't care what part of the trucking you're in, you have to have yourself in a position where you can park your truck. You have to be able to do that. So if you look at where you're at right now, and parking your truck is not one of the options that you have, you need to fix it. You need to be in a position where I can park my truck and ride out whatever I have to ride out. In 2020, when COVID happened, I parked all 23 trucks, no problem. Dropped the insurance. I didn't owe any money on them. So you know, I didn't have to worry about that. But in the 2015 oil collapse, the first thing I did was same kind of thing. I was making payments on like 4 of those trucks. I paid them all out a year. And I'm lucky I did. I paid them all out a year and I didn't have to worry about it. I used the money that I was making good money, and then I realized there was going to be no more money coming in. And I paid them out a year. That's how I survived the 2015 oil collapse and was able to go to Georgia and do all the stuff I did there, and then come back to North Dakota. And Georgia was a disaster for me. And that would have pushed me under if my bills weren't paid out. So, everybody says I'm trying to scaremonger to try and make money or whatever the fuck. I don't even know how that makes sense, but no, I've been through 3 crises like this, and I think this is going to be the worst one we've ever seen. I think if you want to survive this, you need to be smart. Okay, let's take some calls, guys. There's quite a few callers. You're probably tired of listening to me talk anyway. Let's go ahead and do this. Again, guys, if you're watching on TikTok, go over to Facebook. You won't be able to hear the caller unless you're watching on Facebook or YouTube. I'm not a big fan of those places either, but they allow us to integrate, and TikTok doesn't. So the number is 573-422-4225 for anyone that wants to join in. And let's see if I set this up right and try taking a caller. Hello. Yes. And you said when the fan was making it shut off? Yeah, you have an electrical issue there, brother. Here's the right. So here's the shits about it. Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. When they did the outer frame, they probably didn't put the ground strap from the chassis to the engine, and that will make it do exactly what you're talking about. It'll do all kinds of funky stuff. You bet, because the ECM will lose ground intermittently, and it won't like it. It's probably unrelated problem. Be honest with you. Your first problem was probably just a grounding strap, and now you're probably dealing with a totally different problem. That would be my guess. And things that we noticed from doing major out of frames, but even in frames, but out of frames, especially if they don't go to the machine shop and stuff like that and get hot tanked and all that. But even if they do, a lot of times after a rebuild, you get stuff into the fuel rifle, and it's incredibly easy to do, and it doesn't take very much, and that will cause your check valves to hold open a little bit, and it will run just fine. But when you go to shut it off, it quickly, especially if the fuel's really hot, it will quickly pass that fuel, and you lose all your prime. Your return line check valve's probably the culprit. It's very common post rebuild to have problems with the check valves. So, have you tried spraying ether in it instead of putting it in gear to try to start it? I'd try spraying. Sure. Then next time it does that to you, have some ether on standby. Give her a little squirt and see if she'll fire up. If it will, I almost guarantee you it's one of those check valves. All right, you know where they're at. I mean, I seriously doubt it, man. Seriously doubt it. I mean, if it was something with the ECM, it wouldn't run right. I mean, you wouldn't run, wouldn't go down the road and all that. I seriously doubt it. Sure, but man, I was chasing it. I had a BXS one time, and I changed all the injectors, ran the overhead, changed the fuel lines, changed the fuel, just changed the fuel pump, did on and on and on for an entire week. I missed out an entire week of paving. Oh man, we were getting paid so good. All of my trucks were working, but I couldn't get my own personal truck to get going. Ended up being the return line check valve. I spent an entire. Go ahead. Did you say it was a BXS or 6NZ? Okay, so your 6NZ Jacobs brake has slave valves in it, and they break. They'll shatter inside, or just nip the tip off, and they'll still work, but the oil just kind of passes right past them. That's probably all that's going on. You get a Jake brake rebuild kit. They're only like, I don't know, they're under $200 usually, and you can do it while they're in the truck. When you get the kit, it's pretty kind of self-explanatory. I just wouldn't even bother with the changing the O-rings on the the solenoids. Just change out the slave valves, and you'll be fine. They're change out the plungers. That's probably the problem. No, it's very uncommon for guys to do that. Yes, sir. I only do it if guys I only do it if guys tell me they were having problems with their Jakes, or if they request it. Most guys don't even know you can rebuild them. Yep, that sounds like the slave valves are busted. All right, brother. Yep. Good luck. Yep. Good luck. All right, we got so many colors now. I just got to start ripping through them here. Again, guys, if you're Diesel Beast is on it, telling people. Again, guys, the number is 573-422-4225. How you doing, Diesel Beast? You still you still torque the yielding with a 10-foot bar? You goofy guy. I do like watching you do it, but man, I wouldn't do it. All right, Harley, you're on the air.
I've tried it where, you know, I stay on the pedal the whole time. Same thing. I'll have the jakes, it seems like. But it's just a totally different symptom than before. I've replaced the throttle position sensor and did not seem to fix it. So at this point, I got no idea where to even look.
Sorry, man. Everyone was saying they couldn't hear the caller. And I see that I had a cord unplugged. So I was dealing with that while I was trying to listen to you at the same time. But it looks like I got it going. God damn, I'm not good at this. But, you know, anyway. Obviously, that's in the tuning, right? I don't know how you have
So, and
I don't know how you have a DDEC 2 and just, I mean, you can't just make a DDEC 2 into a DDEC 4 anyway, right? Would you guys take a DDEC 4 ECM and just marry it up to that thing? That's not. I mean,
I wasn't the one. I wasn't the one that did the conversion. My shop did not do the conversion. I mean, no, they changed all kinds of things on it. You know, all kinds of sensors and wiring and different, you know, harnesses and you know, every harness on the truck is now new. I couldn't tell you exactly everything.
You guys put a DDEC 4 in the truck?
Correct. Yeah, the DDEC 4 ECM changed all the harnesses and everything to convert it.
Yeah, it's your tuner. Your tuner's something's not right there. In fact, I have I mean, let me give you an example. I have a BXS outside. We just finished it today. I started it up for the first time, and it ran for about 30 seconds, and all of a sudden the jakes came on while it was running. And I turned it off, and we don't have a clue what's going on, but I guarantee it's something in the tune. You know, I'm going to have to get the tuner on it in the morning and figure out what's going on. You know, all things, you know, all things being equal, it's just a BXS engine. The only thing it could be is something in the tune telling the jakes to come on. You know, something's messed up, something in the parameters. Something's not right in the parameters. And how that guy could do that.
It was just weird that the symptoms changed. You know what I mean? Like at first it was, you know, as soon as when you hit the switch on, they came on every time, no matter what you did shifting, they would cut out. But then after a week, now it's a totally different symptom with the, you know, having something to do with the throttle pedal. And just when you put the switch, nothing. I get nothing. That's what, you know, maybe, I guess it could be the tune.
Yeah, well, it's not the tune. It's the parameters in the tune. It might be set to latch or something like that, right? You know, there's like 3 different ways, I believe, that you can have the jakes set up where they operate differently. You know, you can have them where they don't work with the cruise control. They do work with the cruise control. I can't remember all the different ways, but you know, they just probably have something messed up there.
Okay, so you think start looking into the parameters and go from there?
Yeah, somebody that knows what they're doing needs to.
Yeah, I guess I will start that search.
Sorry, I don't have an easy answer
that was my
for
question.
You, but I mean, you gotta go with correlation sometimes, right? And you did all that change, and you know, so
and like I said, I had never had a single problem before. So I mean, they worked every time perfect. So there's no way I just randomly have something go wrong. You know what I mean, like that.
Right. But right back to my BXS outside, the Packard that was in there before they threw that BXS in there wasn't having problems jaking either, right? And now I've put all these harnesses on it and everything else, you know, from custom truck and this and that. And not even 45 minutes ago, I started up for the first time and the jakes are coming on while it's running. So something in the parameter is not right.
Okay. Well, I appreciate it. I'll start looking there and hopefully that find a problem.
Yep. Find a Canadian to help you out. They're the best.
All right. I appreciate it.
All right, brother. Later. All right. I think I got the audio fixed. Yeah. Can hear it now. Okay, good. Let's go ahead and take another caller. TJ, hello.
Hey, man.
Hey, man. What can I do for you?
I got a C15. I was watching one of your TikToks here a while back. Man, it's getting summertime down here. I'm South Alabama. It's heating up pretty good. I was watching about your cranks with the oil cooler right there. I couldn't really understand your video all that well of how pretty much how you're running the water jackets and all that. Because I got valves on mine, I cut them off.
Mm-hmm. So all I do is
water in there.
You talking about on like an old 5EK or something like that?
That's right.
So I just if on those 5EKs back there between number 5 and number 6 on your water jacket, the cylinders, you have 3 or 4 different pipe plugs, and just take one of them out, and however you want to do it, run a hose from the backside of your oil cooler to that spot, and it's just to move the coolant in general. That way, because the coolant back there just stays static, it doesn't move at all, and so it gets hotter than shit.
And it gets.
So all you're trying to do is make the coolant flow in general.
Because I'm looking at it right now. I'm just trying to picture it. Because I can't have it running through my heater core, because then the AC ain't gonna work.
No, I understand that, but I just put my own valve right on the backside of the oil cooler. The backside of your oil cooler has pipe plugs in it too. Just pull one of them pipe plugs out, and then on your block you should have 3 or 4 different pipe plugs going right in the side of the block, right back there between number 5 and number 6. It's super convenient.
Yeah, I see them.
Yep, and just run sometimes I just take a JIC pipe, JIC to pipe, put it right inside the block, and a JIC to pipe right into the back of that oil cooler, and then go have somebody make you a nice JIC hose, that you can couple in there. That works better than putting a barb in a barb and putting blue hose. I mean, if you want something is not going to cause you problems down the road, that's the best way to do it, to be honest with you.
All right.
Now, all you're trying to achieve is just to make the coolant move at all. That's all you got to do. You don't need a lot of coolant. You're not cooling the coolant. All you're doing is getting it to move so it goes through the radiator with the rest of the coolant and doesn't stay static back there.
That's right.
All right, brother.
All right. Appreciate it, man.
Yes, sir. Have a good night. Easy cheesy call. All right, we'll take another one, guys. Again, the number is 573-422-4225. Randolph, hello.
Hey, how are you?
Good, man. What can I do for you?
I have an 09 386 Peterbilt with a CM871, and I bought it about a month and a half ago. Been working on it, doing little things to get it road ready. But every time I turn it on and I look at the oil filler tube, I see a little bit of white smoke, very faint, as the engine is running. So I'm wondering if that's normal, or if it's a little bit of Blowby, or if it can't be the crankcase filter, because I changed it. But I'm just trying to figure out if that's, something that I should be concerned, or if I can test for Blowby in a certain way. Because I don't even know if it's consuming, because I haven't really been on the road, and I just threw a fresh oil change, fresh filters, and put a oil pump in it too.
So my concern would be that you're seeing white haze on first startup, or are you saying after it warms up? Is the engine still pretty cold?
I guess after it's warm, I don't see it as much. When it's at least 180 the temp, I don't see it pretty much. It does bit, a little bit of oil out, a little bit, like very minimal, nothing crazy. But I'm trying to figure out, just to make sure, because I don't want to slam, 40,000 pounds, 47,000 pounds of liquid, and then throw a liner or drop a liner on the road.
That's not really how it works. I mean, first of all, you just don't know enough about it. If it runs good and all that, you really got to get it out and see what it's doing. And what you need to be monitoring is your oil consumption. If you're using up some oil, then you probably need to take an oil sample. If you're not using up any oil and everything seems to be running fine, then don't worry about it. But I think you're just, personally, I just think you're being overly cautious, which, nothing wrong with that, so to speak. But if you've never went out and run it, and quit worrying about it and go out there and do something with it first, and then worry about it if you need to worry about it. I mean, I wouldn't lose any sleep over something that, you're just guessing for now, right?
Yeah. I did do an oil sample. They said everything was good. The only thing that came back a little bit high was the lead, and they consider that, I guess, bearing material. That's what they said.
Mm-hmm.
But they said, if the oil pressure is good, then don't, pay too much mind to it. And this was a Blackstone that did the oil sample. But the number wasn't that high. I think it was like 23. So I don't know if that's high or not, to be honest. Everything else was within parameters.
I would just go run it and then take another oil sample. You just don't have enough data. You're shooting in the dark and hoping somebody will say something to make you feel better about it. But there's just not enough data, my friend. You got to go run it.
All right.
We're all
yeah.
We're all nervous about our. I remember when I owned for 2 years, my first 2 years starting out, I only had one truck, and all I could think about was when my engine blew up. It made trucking miserable for me, to be honest with you. I was so worried about my engine blowing up on me, and I was constantly just messing with it and Lucas oil and just, and monitoring it and stroking it and loving on it and just hoping and praying she'd stay together. And it wasn't even having any problems, really. You know what I mean? But, and it took, and I ended up with a lot of trucks, and I didn't rebuild that one for another like 5 years. So, you get what I'm saying? I doted and worried on that thing for 2 years. And then once I owned a bunch of trucks, I just, kind of forgot about it and all lost interest in doting over it so much. And it still went for another 5 years. You get what I'm saying? So, I can put myself in your shoes, but you just don't have enough data. You need to go run it and monitor it.
All right. Yeah. I'm being overly cautious. You're right. I can agree with you on that. Especially with, everything going up. Yeah. All right.
All right, brother. Well, good luck.
I guess I'll just, thank you.
Yes, sir. Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Got a question on TikTok I want to answer really quick. 5EK Cat can hold 550 horsepower, no issues. Absolutely. Depends on what it came from the factory. If you have like a 435 or under, you do have to change your piston crowns, your injector, and your camshaft, and usually your turbo. But absolutely, the engine itself can handle 550 horsepower, no problem. So, again, guys, if you're watching on TikTok, you can hear the caller if you go over to Facebook or YouTube to watch. The call-in number is 573-422-4225. Please call in if you want to be part of the show. We got like 3 people on hold. I'll get to them here shortly. Jamie Gillis says, sounds like anxiety is getting the best of him. I only worry about bearings when I see high copper. Kind of agree with that a little bit. You see a little bit of high lead. I didn't really think 22 was high lead anyhow. Certainly not something to be worried about. Maybe something enough to worry about where you want to take another oil sample, but not something to get you to not run the truck, so to speak. So, run it until something happens. I understand the anxiety. I think about it daily. You don't really want to run it until something happens. You just want to be smart, take oil samples, monitor your oil consumption. Just be smart about it. Rather than being anxious. Anxiety, for the most part, is procrastination. Almost all anxiety comes from procrastination. So not doing something that you're capable of doing or should be doing. It's something that's within your control that you're not doing is where anxiety typically comes from. So, but in his case, he's overly worrying about something and trying to do something about something that probably doesn't even exist. Anyway, we'll take another caller here. Jordan, you're on the air.
Hey, what's going on, man?
Not much, man. What can I do for
I have
you?
a question. I have a 1LW Cat 1998 engine, right? I have about 2.7 million miles on it. I did one overhaul roughly about 400,000 miles ago. But now I have this, when my turbo goes into boost or while I'm driving, I'm losing about a gallon of oil a day out of my Blowby tube.
What kind of engine was it again?
And it's a 1LW Caterpillar TWS.
If you're using a gallon of oil a day out of your Blowby tube, you need to stop using it.
But the thing is, it only does that sometimes. It doesn't do it all the time. I don't have excessive Blowby.
That's because
I do have some pressure in it.
That's because when you're under boost, right? When you're pulling hard and the turbo is putting a lot of pressure on there, that's when it's happening the hardest. And then when you come to a stop and check it, it doesn't seem like it's that bad because there's no boost then, right? Which is an indication you probably don't have, if you're using a gallon a day, it's almost guaranteed you have broken rings, but you could not have broken rings and just have completely swiped out liners. Swiped out liners tend to show more under boost. Broken rings, it's really easy to tell a broken ring because when the engine's hot and you're at an idle, boy, it'll just be like a mosquito machine, like it'll just fog everything out. That's a broken ring, or multiple broken rings. Whereas if you're using a lot of oil, but it doesn't just like fog you out when you're parked, that's more likely completely swiped out liner from carbon stacked up or something like that. And that's probably what you have going on. If it's not really fogging you out when you're just sitting around, you probably have a couple of liners swiped out really bad.
Yeah, because I have, like out of the smoke coming out of the Blowby or the fill tube, it's really not that much. There is some there, but I mean, it's not like the worst thing. And, but I was thinking of, before I go and overhaul it, just to try to extend it a little bit longer, maybe doing, I was looking online and I saw that there's this kit to move the Blowby tube to the top of the valve covers. I was going to see what you thought about that.
Yeah, absolutely. That helps a lot. But in fact, if you have like so you have the Blowby tube down in the midsection of the engine.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Yeah. If I was in your shoes, before I did anything at all, I would move it up to the top and see how much that changes your problem. Might want to take an oil sample, and you're burning a gallon a day, brother. You might want to take an oil sample just to make sure. But you bet that lower setup, I delete that on every engine I come across because it causes problems just like you're having. So I would start there 100% before I did anything else, and as quickly as possible, because you want to make goddamn sure that you don't have a liner problem going on, and hopefully that's it. But if that thing gets gummed up and all that, you bet it will do exactly what you're talking about. So get that fixed as soon as you can. It's a really easy fix.
Yeah, because a while back I had taken it to a shop to get some stuff done, and they ended up not doing. I can't remember. I think I took it in for like an electrical problem, right? And then they told me they're like, "Oh, we're gonna help you out. We're gonna go ahead and put it. We tuned your truck or whatever. They did something to it." But long story short, the guy all he did was just cut off the little hose on the turbo, and it did that. And then it started blowing out a bunch of oil like that. I got scared shitless. You know, it did it to me one day when I was pulling head on. So like my whole right side of the trailer is covered in oil and all that stuff, right? And then I figured that out, took that off. It stopped the problem completely. So I was like, all right, you know, nothing's going on anymore. Everything's good again. But then recently, it started doing that. The other day when it was really, really windy, I was driving and I guess, you know, I was pulling hard. So it started doing that again. And, you know, I got scared again. I thought, well, fuck, maybe I spun a bearing or piston ring broke or something happened like that. But, you know, nothing else. Blowby didn't change. I was still only, like, if it doesn't spit it out like that, I'll still only burn. I mean, I do lose oil. I lose about a gallon maybe a week, maybe a little bit more. So it's not like an excessive amount. It's still a lot, but it's not like a stupid amount. So, man, I saw that kit, and I was just wondering to you what you thought about that kit to relocate that stuff, that blow-by tube.
I don't know about a kit, but if my phone wasn't tied up TikToking right now, I have all the part numbers in my phone. You just buy the plate, and you buy the valve cover, and you buy the hose. It's literally that simple. You got to have the special O-ring too, but they're all readily available at CAT.
Okay. But you do recommend, like, you do
absolutely 100%.
Like, you do that first.
Yeah, do that first.
Okay.
But don't delay, because you might have a serious problem going on. All right, brother.
Yeah. All right, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Good luck.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, I got one more caller. So looks like he's calling about a car issue. So we'll take him here in a second. The call-in number, guys, is 573-422-4225. The show really doesn't work that well as a call-in show if nobody calls. So give me a call, and I'll be able to get to you pretty easy. I don't know how to scroll up on these questions. I saw a couple of good questions on Facebook and YouTube here, and I wanted to read. Somebody's asking about their V-Pod on their 60 Series Detroit. That's such a shitty design, man. Such a shitty design, really is. Somebody's asking about a 5EK as well. I was going to answer that, but what's my opinion about 60 Series Detroits? And you can't really talk a lot of shit about a 60 Series Detroit. They run and run and run and run and run and run and then run some more, and then they're blowing up and they still continue to run. So I have seen the 60 Series that were just clapped out. They're still pulling freight, you know, and they're famous for it. But, you know, they're pretty gutless. I certainly wouldn't want to own one as a daily driver, especially not a 12.7. The 14 liters, I like them quite a bit better. We build some pretty mean 14 liters here. We're going to go ahead and take this caller. He's been on hold for 23 minutes, and we got 3 callers behind him. How you doing, man?
Hey, what's up?
Not much. What could
I got a 2017 Kenworth with a Packard MX-13 in it. I've got 718,000 miles on it, and I got it deleted. But now I'm getting this like purge from my turbo, like it runs, and like the turbo parts, like it's just like I don't know what it is, but it's like it just builds boost, and all of a sudden it just stops, and then it rebuilds boost, like it builds too much boost and then restarts up.
So first of all, the MX-13, is the only Packer I'm familiar with at all, and that's because we just recently started overhauling them in my shop. We're on like our third one. We just got one out of here not even 2 days ago. But I don't have enough experience with them to really kind of go off. You know what I mean? But what I do know is they have a VGT turbo on them, and what you're describing sounds exactly like a VGT turbo that's getting hung up.
Yeah, it's like it's like it's building boost, like the motor is like building power, and all of a sudden it's like you just let off the throttle,
Yep.
and then you put your foot back on throttle.
So ISX
it's like a.
So I have to go with what I know, which is an ISX. And an ISX with a VGT turbo would do the exact same thing when the turbo's hanging up. So I don't see why it would be any different with that Packard. And
I've had I've had the turbo actuator replaced and everything. And
when you say everything, does that mean
the engine runs
the turbo as well? Did you change the turbo, not the actuator? The turbo itself is probably the problem.
I've had them look at the turbo. They're like, nope, there's nothing wrong with the turbo.
That's just not really how it works, man. I mean, like, so an ISX turbo, you can take it apart and it will seem like everything's fine, but doesn't mean it wasn't hanging up.
It's been like that for like 5 years. It just like the turbo just farts, just like it just like backfires and go down the road, and it's always on heavy acceleration.
Yep. So I had a Packard and a 2-ton, right? It was a T800 2-ton that we used for doing bees in North Dakota, and it would do the exact same thing. And it was the turbo, and I just dealt with it, and I dealt with it for 3 years straight. But I knew the whole time it was the turbo doing it. I needed to replace the turbo. If I mashed on the gas for long enough, it would break loose and just finally work right.
What's your opinion on Packard? What's your honest opinion on Packard?
So my honest opinion on Packard is
they have a B10 rating on them.
So my opinion on Packard is that the metric for a good engine across all engines is the longevity of the engine, right?
Right.
And Packards have managed to achieve that pretty much across the board. So by that metric, Packards proved to be a great engine. I mean, you have 700,000 on yours. I talk to people all the time.
Yep.
Guys come here all the time. They got 1 million miles, 1.3 million. It's expected out of the Packards, right? The problem with the Packard,
right?
The problem with the Packard is once you get up there in that age, you're outside of your warranty, and then nobody wants to work on them. And the people that do work on them want your left nut to work on it.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So that's really the only inherent problem with them. Once you go up past the 17 and get up to the 18s and onwards, that one's more of a turd. And I would never let one of those come in my shop and work on it. No way. I mean, aftermarket doesn't even make anything for them because they don't want to be involved in them because there's too much liability with them. But your 13s to 17s, those were good engines. I don't care what anyone says. They're good engines. They don't,
Mine's 17. I mean,
right. They don't make the power that some of the other ones do, but they make money and they get good fuel mileage.
Mine's 475. And it can go to 500. I got deleted, and they're like, "You want to turn it up?" I said, "No, just leave it alone. Leave it alone. Don't turn it up. Just leave it alone."
I really think you should change.
I've always ordered.
I really think if you change your turbo, your misery will go away.
Okay, it's just like intermittent. It's not. I'm like when I'm going up an on ramp, and I'm getting up there, and it will it burps. The turbo just burps.
You are describing that T800 straight truck that I pulled my hair out over for 3 years. I mean, I literally drove a Packard that was doing the exact same thing, and I never doubted for a minute it was the turbo. I just, I rented the truck from my neighbor, and I wasn't about to put a turbo on it because he didn't care. If he didn't care, I didn't care.
It's been doing it for years, and I just I've taken the Kenworth, and they're like, no, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with it.
I'd hate to steer you into a turbo, but you have 707,000 miles on it. It wouldn't hurt to get a turbo anyhow, right?
Right. No, I understand that. So,
all right.
But, no, I appreciate it. I love your Facebook things. That's why I called in. I watch you on Facebook, and so yeah.
Yeah,
I've turned
Facebook's
a few of my buddies onto you, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, man. I appreciate that.
So
have a good night and good luck.
Appreciate the info. You too. Thank you, sir.
Bye.
All right.
Facebook's a pretty rough place. It's funny. You go on TikTok, which is where I spent most of my time until, I've only been on Facebook for 4 months, 5 months, maybe. I think it's only been like 4 months, but the contrast is just striking. You're over there, you're on TikTok, and people are so friendly over there, and even people that aren't being friendly are pretty careful about what they say, because you can lose your account pretty quick on TikTok. Their rules are pretty strict. You can make a video about whatever you want. They're not strict about that, but they're strict about the interactions in the comment sections. But you go over to Facebook, there's none of that. I mean, people over there will literally throw dog shit at you on Facebook. It's just hilarious. Anyhow, there's a lot of people in the queue now, so we're just going to burn through some people. Lucas, what can I do for you, brother?
Yes, I've got a D318 Caterpillar that is fuel stacking really bad. Does it as soon as you come off a wide open throttle. Anything below 1,700 RPM, it just starts pushing fuel out the exhaust. Don't know if I may be looking at injectors or something going on with the fuel rack.
Well, your injectors are the fuel rack, basically. I'm trying to picture in my mind your engine. And I believe the rails are in the head on that one, isn't it?
No. It's got 6 individual injector pumps down in the injector body on the side of the engine.
Okay, so
the head,
you have an external pump.
Correct. And the injectors themselves, Caterpillar just says that it's a capsule with a fuel tube and a nut. Yeah. And they're telling me there's absolutely no way to test those injectors. They're telling me just buy them and throw them in, and if it fixes the problem, good. If not, buy some more parts.
Yeah. Oh, well, I wouldn't do them anyhow unless you were going to do the nozzles. If I was going to do that.
Well, that's what the capsules are.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, I understand why they can't test them. You just have barrels and then you have nozzles, basically.
Yeah. And the way they told me, said when you change them capsules out, you just unthread them, and when you put your new one on, you spin it up real quick, and when it bottoms out, that's it. Your nut just kind of sandwiches everything in the head.
Yeah, and they probably have a washer, and that washer probably determines your...
No.
They don't have a washer on the nozzle?
Nope. Nope. It's in the breakdown on the engine, it's just a cone capsule, a cone tip capsule at the end, and that just seats right against the head into the pre-cup combustion chamber.
Okay. Yeah, usually nozzles, Usually nozzles, you're just bottoming them out, and then your nut decides. There's no torque. There should be a torque spec for the nut, I would guess.
75 foot-pounds.
Yep, and that's where you're getting your seating from. 75 foot-pounds. Holy crap!
Okay.
But I mean,
that's what I thought.
I mean, there's some things you can do to try to narrow it down, but I mean, if you're going to get into that thing and get the tooling to change those nozzles, you probably just do them all anyway. They can't be that expensive, or the injectors themselves. Sorry.
Yeah, they're, by the time you piece them together, I think Highway Heavy had them for a full set, like $180 for new nuts, the bodies, and the capsules. So it wasn't terribly bad, but I don't have a problem putting them in if I need them. But this motor had set for like 14 years before I purchased it. So it kind of makes me think, is it an injector issue from setting, or is it possibly a half-stuck fuel rack that controls the injector pumps?
Nah, it's probably the injectors themselves, man. I mean, we have injectors that go bad just from sitting on the shelf for 3 months while they're waiting to put back in the same engine. We have injector bodies that the O-rings fail on the inside. The best thing you can do with your injectors, and we don't do it, we should. I've talked about doing it lots of times, but what a guy should do when he's overhauling an engine is take all of his injector bodies and put them in a 5-gallon bucket of diesel fuel and let them set in there.
Keep them soaking.
Yeah, forever how long, because it's not unusual at all to have 1 or 2 injectors go bad just from sitting on the shelf waiting to go back in the truck. Those O-rings,
Gotcha.
They get so old, and those O-rings, they don't do well if they dry out at all.
Correct. Well, like I said, I was unsure where I really needed to start on this thing. I had a good basic idea, but
for that price,
this thing's older than me.
Right, but for that price, I wouldn't even. There's not much to think about, man. You just do them all. You're $100 and something a piece,
Yeah. Okay.
Well, good luck with that.
Okay.
I'll bet it ain't gonna be fun doing that one.
No, this thing was, shoot, it was new in 55, so yeah, they're gonna suck.
Right on. Well, good luck with it.
All right, thank you very much.
Yep, bye. All right. Too many people in the queue to not just go right to them. Again, guys, if you're watching on TikTok, I appreciate it. If you want to hear the caller, you got to go over to Facebook or YouTube, streaming live there. I think that it's still streaming live, right? Right, $180. Just do it. You can't buy spark plugs that cheap. I agree. For the price he was talking about, come on now, just do them. And the call-in number, guys, is 573-422-4225. There's 5 people on hold. Not too bad. Should be able to get through them pretty quick. So if you want to call in, we have a whole hour left. I'll definitely get to you. Hi, you're on the air.
Hey, this is Jamie. I talked to you earlier on. I got a 5EK, and you might drive it 5 or 6 days, and then like going down a hill, you'll be jaking, and like when you go to get back on the fuel, it'll start puffing out blue smoke and popping and, smell like raw fuel. And I changed the return check valve, like you told me. I put all new fuel lines on the motor from the tank.
But have you never done an injector cutout test?
Yeah, I've done an injector cutout test. I put new Cat reman injectors in it. Still doing it. I put new wiring harness under the valve cover. And the injector test says it's good. I just don't know.
And then it will clear right up.
Yeah, you got to rivet and kind of get in the throttle on it and riv it up, and it'll pop a little bit, and then it'll quit smoking, and you might drive it 4 or 5 hours, and it might do it again, and then it might not do it again for 5 days.
Sounds like it's fueling while you're jaking. Which I mean,
Right.
I mean, it technically is fueling while you're jaking, right?
Right. Right.
It's a misconception that the engine dies and stops running. I got in a big argument on TikTok about this probably 3 years ago. Guys are saying that when the jakes come on, it doesn't fuel anymore, which isn't actually true. It's still making combustion. That's what's actually slowing the engine down is combustion. And it still sounds like a bad injector. I mean, did you have anybody do more than when somebody did the injector cutout test? Was somebody looking at it that understands what the pulse and all that means and can see if one of them is having a problem, even though it's coming back okay? I mean, when it comes back okay,
Well, that I don't know.
You know, because like just to kind of put it into perspective, we'll have trucks here that are not running right. And I'll do an injector cutout test and it'll come back okay. And, you know, and we'll run around in circles and then I'll hook up to it and have Canadians look at it and they'll be like, oh, number 2 and number 6, you need to change those. You know what I mean? And it's
okay.
And it's because they know how to read all of those numbers, which I don't.
Right. Yeah, I don't know if they do or not. I just watched him hook the computer to it and do it and said it was okay. But it's got to, like, if you're loaded and on level ground, revving it up, you know, from say 17 to 1800, it sounds good and everything. But you get on a hard pull on a hill, it's like fluttering in the exhaust. I mean, I think it's almost like a miss. But everybody says that ain't what it is.
Yeah. So, have you pulled the valve covers and looked at your valve train?
Yeah, they run the overhead on it when they done in the injectors and.
Brother,
I mean, I put that brand new wiring harness in it.
I cannot tell you how many times guys will have our overhead done and finally get frustrated, come to us, and we find valve train damage. Guys will run overhead and not look at the camshaft and all the pin and rollers really good and see if there's valve train damage. Valve train damage will tend to seem like it goes away at higher RPMs, and that could be exactly what's going on. You have valve train damage, you know, something's wrong with your camshaft. That's why it's fueling funny and stacking fuel on you and doing all that.
Right. I just thought it was weird. You might drive it 5 or 6 days and never do it. And then all of a sudden it'll do it maybe one time, one day. And then you might drive it 5 days and it don't do it again. It's weird.
Yeah. I mean, I would at least pull the valve covers. Super easy to do on that rig you got. Pull them valve covers up, take a peek, you know, with a good flashlight. Even in the daytime, use a flashlight and look down all them pin and rollers and make sure none of them are ate up. And then from there, you need to have somebody look at those injectors that, you know, throwing 6 cat remans in there is almost guaranteed to have a bad injector.
Right.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, everybody tell me I need to do new injectors. I was like, I don't even know where you can get new ones.
The only place I know of currently is Highway and Heavy Parts. They're the only ones making them completely new that I know of. But anyhow, you know, I would start by checking your valve train, making sure there's nothing wrong there, and then you need to have somebody look at the pulse on all those injectors and see if there's one that's just causing you problems, even though it comes back okay.
Okay. Well, all right. Well, I sure appreciate your time.
All right, brother. Good luck.
Thank you.
So somebody has asked several times, I keep seeing it, asking if he can take a stock 5EK and tune it to a 500 or a 550. And the answer to that question depends entirely on what it is rated at currently. If it is a 475, then the answer is yes, you can. If it's under a 475, the answer is no, you can't. You have to change some of the internal components. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Good, man. What can I do for you?
Oh, I have a question on a BSX cat here. I am dealing with a timing error code that is saying that the cam and the crank are not synced. I have pulled the cover and made sure that the crankshaft pins and the timing mark lines up on the cam. I have checked the valve lash, or not the valve lash, sorry, the gear lash. And I cannot seem to figure out the cause of this code. And I was wondering if you had any insight on it.
Well, I have a couple suggestions. Usually that means that one of the two sensors isn't reading at all. Have you changed the sensors?
I have not gotten to that point yet, no.
And it's usually the crank sensor is the problem.
Okay. That's good to know. I know some guys say that the heads were cut too short if they were milled wrong or whatever. Or,
no.
That I needed to have it go calibrated, but I figured I'd start with the sensors. Somebody in the fuse, so I figured I'd hop on it.
Your calibration changes by different thicknesses of head gasket. That's where you actually get that change. That will change the position of your cam gear, and you have to reset the lash. That's why you have to reset the lash every time you change the head. And if you don't reset the lash, it can get about a half a tooth at a time, and it will just not run as good. But it won't cause what you're having happen. What you're having happen is almost always a crank sensor or a cam sensor itself. One of the two isn't reading, so it can't sync the two. In rare cases, what could be going on is the ECM is not syncing up to the crank sensor, and so it's only reading the cam, and it's not in sync with the crank sensor. And to sync that, you have to pull the crank sensor out, and they make a special probe that you put in there, and then you get in the ECM with the computer and run a probe test, and that syncs the cam or the crank sensor to the ECM, so the ECM can properly sync to the camshaft. I own that tool, and occasionally we have to do that, but it's very rare that that's the actual problem. It's almost always the crank sensor.
Okay, that's good to know for sure. I will start with that, and we'll go from there.
I highly recommend you change them both, just to, so you're not chasing your ass.
Yep, for sure. I appreciate your advice.
All right, brother. Have a good night and good luck. All right, we got 4 people on hold. I'm going to try and get to all you real quick. Let's go ahead and get her done. Todd, you're on Hack Nation. How we doing, buddy?
Hey, how's it? Good, yourself?
Good, man. What can I do for you?
Hey, I'm pretty much getting gray hairs over a CAT MXS here that it's mechanically sound, but what's going on with it, it just lags power until you basically got that thing stuffed to the red line before it actually starts to really build power. Now, we've gone back and we've gone through, testing the turbos, boot tests, charge air cooler replace, thrown a book of parts on it. We've even gone as far as changing to a different ECM out of another truck just to see if we can get anything, any different response.
No check engine lights, no codes.
No codes, and like fuel rail pressures, 95 pounds, 100 pounds. Like when you rev it up a little bit there, 95 at an idle. Everything checks out mechanically, but it's just a dog for a 500 or 550 CAT.
And is it mainly it won't build boost? Are you stuck around 20 pounds, 25 pounds?
Well, it builds quick to about 35, and then it's like once you get around that 1700 area where it starts torquing up, then you start to see those 40s. Like it'll build as high as 45 pounds, so no problem. But it doesn't. It's not. To me, it doesn't seem abnormal compared to the other ones I've ran over the years. But it's I said, it's kind of a head scratcher compared to its sister truck.
It sounds like the lower turbo's having issues to me, the low pressure turbo. That's what it sounds like. But let me give you a scenario here real quick. I have an MXS outside that has been done for 4 days. I've been trying to give it back to the owner, but when we took it out and broke it in, it's doing something similar to what you're talking about. It just, I mean, it runs great. It doesn't seem to be like there's anything wrong with it, but it just won't get out of its own way. You know, it just doesn't have any power. And we retuned it and this and that. And I just want to mention a couple of things that it could be on your truck. But because you're building up to 45 pounds, it's unlikely. It sounds like your high pressure turbo is working fine and the low pressure turbo is not working very good. And so your high pressure turbo is not coming into its own until it's taken over completely, so to speak. You know what I mean? So it's
coming in late.
Your specific case sounds like the low pressure turbo, but what we've seen lots of times is that your boost pressure sensor won't throw any codes at all, but it will get gummed up. You know, it just has like basically a diaphragm in it, and that diaphragm will get soot in it and stuff like that, and it just won't work properly anymore. So it doesn't know it. So it doesn't know you have as much boost as you have, so it doesn't fuel. Does that make sense? So it's not adding fuel accordingly to how much boost you have. So you never build proper boost. That is something that happens a lot, where the boost pressure gauge will give guys lower power and they can't build any power. Another sensor that will do the exact same thing for the exact same reason is your barometric pressure sensor. So your barometric pressure sensor is
which we replaced on it.
Okay, so you did do that one. And then the last one is your intake air temp sensor. If that thing is not reading properly, it will make that thing act funny and not boost up like it should.
Yeah, that one was one of the first ones. We actually went. It's an oil filled truck up here in Canada, and we were goofing around with that this winter, and it was borderline making a difference at that one point. We swapped it again. Everything checks out. Like when you look at it in CAD ET, everything is, like I said, mechanically sound.
I'm talking about things that won't show up in ET, right? All three of those sensors won't throw a code and can cause you to have low power. But most of the time, it's the boost pressure sensor itself that causes that kind of problem. But the fact that you can build as much boost as you do just makes me really think that you have a low pressure turbo problem.
Okay.
The other thing is this thing don't have the original stacks on it, does it? Is it straight piped?
No, it should be. No, it's still got mufflers on it.
Okay, so if it still has the mufflers, that's your problem. Because the
back pressure, you think?
Oh yeah, the Acers came with a catalytic converter, and they only run for after they got 15, 20, 25 years on them. Then all of a sudden they start to cause you all kinds of problems. You need to get rid of those stacks. I should have asked you that first.
All right. Yeah. So it's funny you mentioned that. The sister truck to this, we straight piped it, put big stacks on it here this spring, and man, that thing, they're not even comparable for the same spec of motors.
Yep. So. Eventually it'll start blowing your exhaust apart. It will get so backed up it's going to start blowing your exhaust apart. Bet you. That's your problem. 100%.
Okay. Well, I'll thanks for the advice, and I'll definitely take that and take a peek at her here and see what we find.
Yeah, straight pipe, but the problem will go away. Bet you $100. All right, brother.
There it is, all near and here and gone next.
Yeah. Well, you can get you can get a direct replacement spark arrestor that will actually replace that thing directly. You don't have to modify anything at all, and they're much quieter. If you don't want it to be loud, just get a spark arrestor. All it is just a tube and they bend over the tabs on the end that's what makes it a spark arrestor. And they're much quieter.
Yeah.
All right, brother. Good luck.
Nice. Good to know. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Bye. I think those spark arresters are under $200 each. So, well, in Canada, they're probably $1,000 knowing those fuckers. But anyway, Hi, you're on with Hack Nation. I'm Aaron. Alex, hello.
Hey, hey, this is Alex. I called a while back, and I want to thank you for the advice of sending the crankshaft. I was doing a X15 rebuild, and it had a little bit of white stricken on it, and I took sandpaper to it like you told me to, and it came out great. So thank you for that.
Well, good,
My
man.
question is on the same, on the same truck. I put 3,000 miles on it already. And there's a tube between the manifold, the exhaust manifold, and the EGR cooler. And it's leaking pressure on the EGR cooler side on that tube. It's a solid tube. I look at another truck, and it had like a bellow in between. Do they make gaskets to seal that tube, or do I need to convert it back to the bellow style? Or
Well, I know the bellows style has a metal gasket. I'm not sure what you have on yours. The gasket's metal, pretty sure.
it's a solid tube. This is a 2018, and it's a solid tube, a slip-on tube that connects the EGR cooler to the manifold.
Yeah, I'm not picturing it in my mind. We have 9 X15s and ISXs in the shop right now. You'd think that I would immediately be able to identify it in my mind, but I just I don't mess with them that much, to be honest with you. I know a lot about them, but I'm just not picturing in my mind on the X15 exactly how that goes together. But I'm sure it has some kind of gasket. I need to have my nephew on here sometime. Well, he could answer any question about a X15, but what are you leaking? What's leaking? Is it exhaust gas?
It's leaking exhaust gas, yeah.
Yep.
It's leaking exhaust gas right out of the face of the EGR cooler.
Yep. So I know that post rebuild, that's one of our most common warranties on post rebuilds is EGRs leaking exhaust gas, and probably 1 out of 10 comes back for a warranty on that, and we'll have to reseal it. So I know it can be done because we do it all the time. So yeah, I mean, you just there got to be some kind of gasket system for that, I'm sure.
And to change it, I'll probably need to take off the turbo and the manifold, the exhaust manifold out again, right?
Let me go check. So somebody says those have an updated tube with seals. If they're leaking, replace the whole tube. So a gentleman on Facebook says those have an updated tube, which sounds like that's what you have. With seals, if they're leaking, you need to replace the whole tube. They have the seals like the 2-piece exhaust on an X15. Okay, yep, that makes sense. He's probably right. If you were going to try to replace the seals like on an exhaust, good luck with that, right? Unless you have the special tools to do it. It has a ring on it, and it has a ring on it to seal it. Replacement coolers.
Yeah, kind of have one.
Yep. Yeah, so another gentleman on here, a couple gentlemen are advising you to replace the entire tube, which sounds like very sound advice to me, for sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it. I think Cummins wants like $600 just for the piece of pipe, but yeah, I'm gonna replace it anyway. So.
All right, brother. Well, thank you, Facebook, for coming to our rescue. Good luck with it. All right, brother.
Appreciate it.
Yep. Bye. All right. Thank you, guys. Need to watch the comments more often. Samuel, you're on with Hack Nation. What can I do for you?
Hello. So more than a year back, I purchased 2006 Freightliner Columbia with 14-liter Series 60 Detroit EGR intact. To me, it seemed like a barn find for Alaska. The frame is all factory paint. no paint chipping on the drive axle. It looks like the truck hasn't worked. The person that ran the truck died, X, Y, and Z. I purchased the truck. I take it to a dealership. When I was driving it back from Delta Junction to Anchorage, I noticed it's like surging on and off, just bobtail. It's surging. For an hour, sometimes it'll run great and not surge whatsoever. But then it's like on flat ground, super basic Columbia, you don't have a boost gauge or anything, but it's like it'll spool, 15, 20 pounds of boost. It'll drop all the boost. It'll 15, 20 pounds of boost, drop all the boost. So getting into the story, took it to the dealership. They told me I need a turbo V-pod, a bunch of sensors. Turbo V-pod, bunch of sensors got replaced. That didn't fix anything. Took it to a different shop in Anchorage, kind of more mom and pop shop. They replaced the same sensors the dealership replaced, didn't fix nothing. For a second, I was kind of like, F it, I'll run it. I run it for one trip, like 800 miles. It runs good. A week later, it runs shitty on like 3 trips. When it runs shitty for like an hour, if you look in your mirror, when it starts surging, you're rolling a shitload of smoke. Pretty much like you're getting fuel, a shitload of fuel, no boost, no fuel, just big puffs of black smoke.
Has anybody changed the actual V-pod itself?
The V-pod has been replaced twice.
Why have we replaced it?
V-pod's been replaced.
So
2 different shops.
Let me ask you a few questions. Hang on, brother. First of all, have you ever, when it's having problems, have you ever tried switching to the cruise control to see if the problem will go away if you're driving with the cruise control?
I have.
And?
It doesn't go away. Like, say on the Seward Highway, on the parks, whatever, on flat ground, you'll set it at 65 on cruise. And on flat ground, if you're not loaded heavy, when you're light, it's like the issue is more pronounced. When you're bobtail, when you don't have a load, it seems to like build, boost, drop, boost, build, boost, drop, boost, build, boost. Like on flat ground, it'll do that shit.
I was just eliminating the throttle position sensor as being one of the causes. I'm trying to think, man. I'm not sure
if the throttle position sensor ever been replaced. I know everything.
Well, so
everything to do with the turbo.
The throttle position sensor can be eliminated as being a problem if it happens while you're using the cruise control. It's that simple. And you said it does happen when you're using the cruise control, so we know it's not the throttle position sensor. That's how that works. So I'm trying to remember because one of my close friends had the exact same setup in North Dakota, and we had so many problems with this V-pod, and I'm trying to remember what the hell we finally did to figure it out.
One thing I read on a bunch of forums during COVID time, there was a Freightliner technician, and he said a lot of techs don't check if the V-pod is good to begin with. And during COVID, he said 1 in 3 V-pods they would replace before they even installed them onto the truck. They were bad. So I'm not sure if it's a parts issue because, everything pretty much is remanufactured for these trucks.
Yeah, but I call bullshit on that. I'm really, really slow to blame parts. Really slow to blame parts. It's such an easy cop out, and it doesn't solve your problem, right?
So correct, but like you say, if it's a mechanical issue, it would like stay there, right? But since it comes and goes, in my head, it kind of seems like something electrical.
Yep, it sure does. I mean, have we ever thought about getting the special pipe and ripping that piece of shit off the side of there and putting a 12.7 turbo on it?
I wanted to ask a question about that. Would it be possible to get a tune on the ECM on a 2006? Like, I know the guys in Canada do that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously, I can't recommend you do anything like that here on this show, but and I certainly would never do something like that in my shop. But I do know that they run a lot better like that.
Is essentially though, if you put an old school turbo, not a VGT turbo, it's does it eliminate a bunch of the sensors? I believe.
So to put it into perspective, we sell a 14-liter here that's a very popular engine, and we call it the Canadian build, and that is because we source our parts for it from Canada, and then Canadians tune it for us. What people do with it after they buy it from us is kind of we're not, we don't know what they do with them after they buy them from us, but
but it's using the old school 12.7 turbo, right?
Mm-hmm. And I see guys are commenting here talking about, sounds like electrical issues, sounds like, fuel pressure issues. And, but I mean,
just to put it into perspective, I bought a super clean truck for $14,000. In the dealerships and shops chasing this issue, I'm already $40,000 in.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
on top of the 14 grand. So I got 54 grand into a truck that doesn't
let me say
make sense.
Let me say this a way that let me try to say this in a way that makes sense. If I owned that truck, it would look vastly different when you rolled the hood up.
Fair enough. The only reason I'm still in business is because my primary truck I've been running is a Cat. Everybody in Alaska knows how to work on a Cat. On the Detroits, pretty much it just seems like it's parts cannons.
Well, we work on we work on them all the time. The closest truck to me right now in my shop is a 14-liter that's all intact, and I don't anticipate having any problems with it. And we deal with the V-Pod stuff all the time. But we don't sell them like that. And I wouldn't own one like that personally.
Fair enough. When in Alaska, I heard you talking on a different show. In Alaska, you were saying you need 600 horse to run up here.
To run the haul road.
I never ran the haul road myself, but still pulling, 130, 140,000 pound sets.
Yeah. On the parts.
You can get away with less power, but more power always helps.
Yeah.
You're able to get a better run.
I was
out the hills.
So I had a gig for sourdough where I would run doubles up the parks. And I would throw, I had a big cam 400 I would throw at that. And that big cam 400 wouldn't even make it to 20 mile on the haul road, man. There's no way it wouldn't make it. So
it makes sense. Beaver Creek, Yukon.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah. So a lot of the runs I do out there, and when that Freightliner ran good on some of the trips, on the average fuel mileage, when it ran good, it would make like 7 miles per gallon. It's not as fun as driving a cat, but you're saving a lot of fuel. On the same kind of trips, the best I would squeeze out of the cat is like maybe 6.1, 6.2 miles per gallon.
Yeah.
So
on the haul road, my cats were coming in somewhere between 3.5 and 4.
Well, yeah. Well, that's with crappy weather a few weeks back. 110,000 pound set, which ain't even that heavy. I made like 3.5 miles per gallon fighting the wind.
Yeah.
It's Alaska. Those kind of weights, not every state allows to be pulled. Anyways, thank you for your time. I'll let you keep going on with the show.
Yeah, I think I would just try to end your nightmare, if that makes sense. Anyway, brother, you have a good night.
Okay. Yep. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. You know, we have chased our ass on those V-Pods multiple times in my life, and I hate them. I hate that whole setup. That whole setup is just nonsense. Whoever came up with that was a jackass. Anyway, you're on the air, man. What can I do for you? Hello.
Oh.
Yes, sir.
Hello, are you talking to me, Andre?
Yeah, man. You got a PACCAR MX-13? Let's roll.
Yes. My question is, I got the 10-case pipe underneath. I got some oil blowing out of there. When I take the oil cap off, I do not have pressure coming out of there. My question is that crankcase filter on the PACCARs. Should I be worried about excessive crankcase pressure, or is that filter bad?
First of all, your oil fill is a little different because your gear train's in the back, so it's going to tend to not show there like it does on other trucks. That makes sense?
Okay.
But anyhow, neither here nor there. Anytime you have crankcase pressure, you have a problem. But as far as it being because your filter's bad, I mean, there's an easy solution there. Change the filter. And then see if...
Right. It's the MX 13 EPA 10, so it's the old style. I guess they don't even make that filter anymore. But I did find one on eBay that I'm going to replace. I just wanted to get your thoughts on that. So it's not blowing oil all the time, but when I go underneath there on the idle and I put my finger on that PCV hose, it builds up a little pressure. And obviously I can see the oil coming out, and I also get a oil smell, not all the time, but throughout the day, like 3 or 4 times, I'll get a oil smell coming from that odor.
How much oil you have to add?
No, not much at all. I don't have to add oil all the time. I do run synthetic, full synthetic.
Sounds like a breather problem, man. Doesn't sound like you have engine problems. Sounds like you just have a breather problem.
Okay. So, meaning that filter itself is probably the problem. Okay.
Probably.
Yeah. I was never into the MX-13s. I didn't like them at all. But it's kind of changed my mind on them a little bit. But it's been running pretty good. But I just add this worry.
I'm going to use your phone call here to bring up a couple points. One is that you said you put your finger on it and it builds up some pressure, and I can tell you that a brand new engine, and I mean a brand new engine, is going to have 1.5 to 2.5 CFM of Blowby the day that you finish building it. And if you put your finger over the Blowby tube and hold it there and let go, it's going to build up somewhere around 7. That's on a freshly rebuilt engine. I know this for a fact because I have a machine that will test that. So that's not really a good way to indicate anything at all. Another thing is I saw someone in the comments earlier when we were talking about blow-by, and he was saying, well, the rings might be lined up. But the thing is that your rings rotate all the time, and your rings line up with each other all the time. And that doesn't cause you to have some kind of massive blow-by. You're supposed to start out when you first rebuild your engine by clocking your rings, but they continually rotate from there on out. And periodically they line up with each other. It happens. It's a little known fact that your rings are constantly rotating in a circle and constantly lining up and then continuing to disalign from each other. You don't have rings that line up and then stay there, and that's the cause of your problem, right? And I'm just using your call as bringing all that up, but yeah, that's not a good way to indicate. My buddy Andy Long is saying that the blow-by filter is actually supposed to be changed at each oil change, and he would probably know because he's the guy rebuilding the EPAs in this shop. So he would probably know because he has been in the service bulletins nonstop for the past couple of months. So sounds like you're supposed to change them quite often. How much do they cost there off of eBay?
So I got the whole, I couldn't get the filter for that model. Because the newer models, you can get the filters all day long. That EPA 10, which was like, I think the first ones that came out, I had to buy the whole housing with the filter in it. It was about $800 for that whole housing.
I think you need to look elsewhere. I mean, yeah. I find it almost impossible.
Yeah,
impossible to believe that you can't get your hands on it.
Yeah, I'm not talking about the spin filter, which I do on the services. I've been talking about the crankcase on the driver's side, bottom of the motor crankcase filter. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they say it's not serviceable.
Oh, okay. Yeah, maybe it's not. So, but it sounds like you should buy one.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yes. Yeah, I did. I'm going to change it and see how it goes. But
well,
yeah, thank you very much, Aaron.
Call back next week and let us know how it goes.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, brother. Have a good night.
Yes, sir. All right, man. You too.
All right. Yeah, I'm kind of doing a little different now where I can see the comments. So, John, you're on the air.
Yeah, hi there. Yeah, hey, I got an old B model cat, and I seen on one of your little clips on Bookface you were talking about the stagnant water between cylinders 5 and 6, and to plumb that, there's a fitting there you can plumb right into the block. And where do you plumb it to? Where's the best place to get rid of it?
Right into the back of the oil cooler. Your oil cooler housing where it goes into the block. There's almost always pipe plugs right there. If there isn't,
okay.
I have seen oil cooler housings, which is weird. You'd think they would cast them all the same, that don't have any pipe fittings. And if that's the case, I just take one up from the water pump itself and bring one all the way back.
Mine. I was looking at mine this morning. It don't have no bungs cast in the back of the oil cooler.
Just grab a spot from the front.
I got the heater core. One for the heater core comes out of the back of the water pump.
Yep, just put a
Y. And then the other side of the heater core.
Just put a Y on it, man.
Put a Y. Well, I don't want. I shut that off in the summer so I can run my AC, so there ain't no water going.
Put a Y on it and put two WOG valves on your Y. One for your heater. And
I think it's 2 more valves.
Yep.
Yeah.
Man, you should.
Yeah,
You
I
should.
just
You
put
should
them
have
2
seen.
valves on
You
there.
should have seen our trucks up in Alaska, man. All of my trucks had extra heaters that sit where the passenger seat was, and our coming out of
Oh,
the side of our water pumps would look like a damn Christmas tree. There's so many valves on there.
yeah.
So it ain't no thing. Just
Okay.
put a Y on there and put 2 valves. Ain't no big deal.
All righty. Okay, that'll work. All right. That's about all I needed, brother. I appreciate it.
All right, sir. You have a good night.
All right. All right. You too. Bye now.
Bye. Dieselby, stop telling people to call in. It's getting late, and there's a lot of people in the queue, man. I do appreciate you helping me out always, though. You're the man. Pete, you're on the air, man. What can I do for you?
Hey, Aaron. Love what you're doing, man. Another B model cat question. So I just bought this truck. My first time having a B model, and I saw your video. They talked about the differences between, the old B models and the mechanical and the newer cat engines. And you had said that the old B models was more expensive to maintain. And what I'm wondering is, I bought this truck because the motor had just been rebuilt last year. I only got 30,000 since the rebuild on it, and it's turned up quite a bit. It's got a S410 turbo on it, and it runs real strong. I'm concerned about reliability. What types of things would you, since I don't know much about the old B models, what would you suggest as far as things I need to look out for?
First of all, it's one of the least expensive cats to overhaul. I don't know where I gave you that impression.
Oh. Well, you said more complicated in the front structure and all that with the time.
Oh, it's vastly more complicated engine, vastly more complicated. And that can tend to make it more expensive because, there's not a whole lot of places that'll even work on them, but,
right.
But as far as parts go, they're actually one of the more inexpensive engines out there. It's kind of like the 444 or the 400 big cam. Geez, that thing for $20, you can get your overhaul kit. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what I'm trying to say. But
okay,
finding a guy that can work on ones is a challenge in and of itself, and that's probably more the impression I was trying to give you. But what do you need to watch out for on your B model? Depends. Did you guys build it with does it have original style pistons, or you guys put some kind of performance piston in? In other words, does it have aluminum pistons or does it have steel pistons?
I don't know. I got to reach out to the shop that built it. I have all the paperwork and dyno sheets and everything for it. I'd have to reach out to them and see what kind of pistons they put in it.
I'm sure they put steel pistons. I'm sure, but
I hope so.
So what you need to watch out for in your B model always is your pyrometer. Your pyrometer is really the only.
Oh yeah, I've been watching.
It's the only thing that matters on that engine, pretty much.
Okay.
Everything else is just like normal. Maintain it and keep up on your oil and this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
But and don't overheat it and lose a coolant line and drive it into the dirt or whatever else. But you got to drive that truck by the pyro. It's pretty simple.
Okay. Yeah, I've been.
Don't lug her down.
That's something new for me, which I'm learning. No, it doesn't. I've already noticed it doesn't like to be lugged down, and I'm learning because the truck that I drove before didn't even have a pyro on it. It was a newer cat, and but this one, yeah, I'm watching. I'm learning what RPMs it likes, and I noticed, higher RPMs it cools the pyro down a little bit, and that's where it likes to be.
Yeah.
People were telling me, oh, that RPM's kind of high for a cat to run. And I'm like, that's where it likes to run. You run it any lower, the pyro gets too high.
What RPM?
So, well, the one thing I wish it had is a little bit more highway gear, because geared kind of high. It's got like 390 gears in the back. So I noticed that once it goes, if I'm below 1500 RPMs, if I'm below 1500 and it's loaded, and you start to hit a little incline, the pyrometer starts to creep up. So it almost like 14, 15 or higher.
Okay, so that thing can run up there 18, 19, no problem. Just so you know.
Oh, okay, good. That's good to know. Thank you for that. Because I was concerned because I was running it. When I wanted to go 70, I was running at 17, 1800, and I thought, oh, is that too high?
It's not too high for that engine. But if you can't get down there 14, 15, and you're starting to get hot, your turbo is probably too big.
Yeah, I was wondering. It's F410, I think, Borg Warner.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that much about what size turbo to match with that, and I don't know how much they got the fuel pump turned up, but it's quite a bit, I think.
Yeah.
But the dyno sheet.
So my B models would run right around 600 horsepower, and you could lug mine down to 1200. You just couldn't stay there for a long ass time, right? So, but if we were in a hard pull or something, we had to get down there 13, 1200. You could stay there for a little bit before you had to drop a gear and get her back up there to 17, 16, 17, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
But I always put 78 millimeter 145 nozzle quick spool turbos on them, so they could do that. And it sounds like your turbo is just, maybe you have an 80 millimeter turbo. I don't know the correlation on the Borg Warner of what that would be by you just telling me the number, but higher. Yeah,
I'm not sure either.
Higher RPM, like somebody just said, is going to cool your exhaust, of course. But you should be able to lug that thing down some without shitting your pants. Sounds like you're fueling pretty hard, but if you got to keep it up, you got to keep it up. It is what it is. It's the thing is your later model cats, they want to run 1600 and under, and guys that are running those later model cats, your 6NZs and your MXSs and stuff up above 1600, they're not doing any favors to that engine at all. But your old B model can run up there 2000 without hurting anything.
Okay, because I did see that the shop that built my motor, I got the dyno sheet and everything, and they peak horsepower was at 1900. So I figured, running at less than 1900 is okay. And running at 17, 18.
Yep.
So, I'm not running at peak all the time, but, like today I was running all day at 16, 17. As far as the pyrometer goes, the sensor is after the turbo. Probably.
A gentleman just said a S480 would be an 80 millimeter compressor wheel, which makes sense. S480. And that's
I got a 410.
That's probably part of. Oh, you have a S410.
Yeah, that's what it said on the cold side. It said Borg Warner S410. I'm not sure if that's 72 or 78. I don't know.
I don't know either.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I was going to ask you though, as far as the pyrometer goes, I've heard different. I've heard you talk about, once it gets up. I don't think I've had it hit 900 yet, but I always get nervous when it gets to like 800.
No.
So how high should it?
So you can go to 1200. You just can't leave it there.
The pyrometer can get that high?
You bet.
Oh,
so
because I've heard people.
S410SX, somebody said from YouTube that is a 78 millimeter turbo. So,
okay, that's the thing.
Like if you were hanging at 1200 RPMs and 1200 degrees, and you were climbing a 3 mile long hill, you'd probably melt her down by the time you got to the top. But I don't
want to do that.
But if it goes up to 1200, you didn't hurt anything. Does that make sense?
Okay, because I was under the impression that since the pyrometer was after the turbo, it was actually like a lot hotter than that before the turbo. And someone had said something about like 1100 degrees and they were going to start to do damage.
No,
I was worried about.
1100 degrees isn't going to hurt anything. 1,000 would be better, but 900 would be great. But you're not hurting anything, honestly.
So if it gets in the summer when it's hot and I start climbing the hill, if it gets up to 1,000, 1,100 or something, and once I cool it down after the top of the hill, it should be fine. I don't climb hills that are that long. I'm from the Midwest, so it's pretty flat.
If you're melting pistons out and stuff at 1,000, 1,100 degrees, there's something else seriously wrong. Be honest with you.
Okay.
All right, man.
Okay, that's good to know. I appreciate it.
Yep. Have a good night, man.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
All right, guys, it's getting pretty late. I only got 10 minutes left. There's still 5 callers. I'm going to take all 5 of you, then wrap this up. I won't take any more of those. So if you call, I'm just not going to take you. But if you're on already, hang out. We'll get to you. Hello, you're on the air. Hello. Julio.
Yeah. Hello. I watch your videos there. I'm a follower of yours.
Mm-hmm.
I got a 2001 Peterbilt. Has a 2001 i6 Signature 500.
Yep.
It's throwing the water through the overflow. I did a test where grabbed a water bottle and I got the truck hot and it's I put the overflow tube inside the water bottle with water in it and it started bubbling. So took it to my mechanic. He said that it was the head gasket, and he recommended just overhauling it. But he said that block has the ECM says that block has 1.8 million miles, and he doesn't recommend using that same block because he says it's not gonna.
So
not gonna last. The overhaul is not gonna last.
Let's back up a little bit. First of all, that statement's nonsense. But let's back up just a little bit. So I want to make a statement on here really quick and using your phone call to do it. And that is that in all the years of doing this, I have never seen, not one time, a head gasket fail independently ever. I have never seen it happen. Guys will talk about, guys will buy overhaul kits or whatever, and they'll say, hey, well, should I get a Cat head gasket or should I get a Cummins head gasket, even though I'm using an aftermarket kit, or who makes the best head gasket, this and that. And I will confidently say this, that I don't give a shit if it's a AFA, IPD, PAI, PDI, Interstate McBee, OEM. I don't care. I don't care because I never, ever have seen a head gasket fail for the head gasket's sake. It is always an external event, without exception, that makes a head gasket fail. So it's either going to be an installation error of some kind, which that usually shows up, within the first week or two, or it's going to be some kind of tuning issue, or, and this is the most common, it's going to be some kind of external event, some kind of critical event that happened. And almost without exception, when somebody like you tells me that they're having a head gasket issue, I say, well, let's think back over the last 6 months. And have you had to add any coolant for any reason at all in the last 6 months?
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't run. I stopped running the truck. I had a driver. I think it all started when the driver he lost his coolant, and he drove it up to the shop. He was like 5 miles away. But anyways, yeah, the last few weeks I had to work and I had to add coolant in it.
Did you lose?
Because there was tons of
right. But before this, did you lose a coolant line or something, a heater line, or do you have any kind of event like that happen?
No, I had just put a brand new radiator like 3 months before that, before I was starting the overflow.
Right. Why did we put a new radiator in?
Yeah, I forgot. It was like it's been like over a year and a half. I forgot. I just forgot. I can't think of it right now.
So what I'm getting at is there's probably some kind of an event where this thing got overheated, and the head gasket's not what's failed. It's most likely the cylinder head. The cylinder head is probably bad. And your mechanic might be suggesting you overhaul it while you have it open. And I'm not necessarily saying he's wrong, but that would depend entirely on your budget, right? Right. I wouldn't go into it at any rate thinking you're going to throw a head gasket at it. It's most likely the cylinder head and the head gasket, or a drop liner, maybe because the tuning or something like that. But as far as how many miles are on it, here's the thing, man. I have a ISX in here, an X15 in here right now that had 300,000 original miles on it, had some issues, got rebuilt, and only has 100 miles on it, and it's completely destroyed, right? And I have a Caterpillar in here, and I'm not trying to mince over the type of engine. Understand what I'm trying to say here, that we're overhauling that has 2.4 million miles on it, and it's an in-frame, and we're in-framing it. 2.4 million miles. What I'm getting at is it's either in spec or it's not. It doesn't matter if it has 7 million miles on it. It doesn't matter if it has 700 miles on it. It only matters if it's in spec. So if your mechanic's pre-telling you that you can't overhaul it because of the mileage, you need to find a different mechanic.
No, he said we can overhaul it, but he said it's not going to run that long. You know, it's not going to last.
But he's right. That's nonsense. Go to somebody that believes that their overhaul will last a long time. I don't care if you have 1 million miles on it. If we rebuild it, it should go another 1 million miles. If it was in spec when we put it together, why wouldn't it?
Oh, okay. Another question I have a B 94 Peterbilt B model. Well, it was a C model, and we put a manual pump on it, so it gets considered a C model now, I was told. And it's run. I changed the water pump, and I want to say we put the thermostat, but anyways, it's running. It's running at 165, 168. Not even at once. The fan comes on. The automatic fan comes on at 175. So my question is that normal for that engine to run like that, or do I need to? I heard
the fan some
of your videos.
Fan shouldn't be coming on until 215. And here's the thing: the ECM reads in a total, this is a B model.
Yeah, we converted it to it was a C model originally, but we changed out the I guess you just change out the fuel the fuel pump.
You probably need to change
put a manual
but even so, your fan's probably reading on a different sensor than the one that's going up to the truck. Even the one at the truck might not be reading right. Yeah, usually, if I remember right, the B model is reading before the thermostats, and what you're reading in the truck is after the thermostat, and that's probably why you're seeing that difference. The coolant probably is way hotter than you think it is. I wouldn't worry about it.
Oh, okay.
Is what I'm trying to say.
Maybe I should just shoot it with the laser or something. I don't know.
That's what we need is some freaking sharks with lasers on their head. All right, brother. Well, good luck.
Okay, man. Thank you. Thank you.
I just had to throw a... Okay. We got 3 more callers here. Let's go ahead and take them. Oh, my God. I do enjoy this. This is fun. And now that I'm including commenters, I didn't really know how to do that till tonight. It's making it even more fun. Hello, John.
Yes. How's it going?
Good, man. What can we do for you?
Hey, I'm here in Washington. I really appreciate what you're doing. I listened to your interview with your son. You're very motivating. I'm a young guy, have a small trucking company, and I'm trying to survive. I got a lot of questions, but I'm going to ask you just one, and then I'll call back later to respect your time. We just rebuilt a Detroit 60 Series 97 with pistons that are bolted on. I'm just going to say that terminology because that's easy for me. And this thing smokes on idle, especially when it's cold. And this is the second time I've rebuilt it. And I've just read about things online, just wondering what's your opinion on that. And once it warms up, or when it's warmer weather, you can't even see a puff of smoke out of it. But it's white, heavy smoke like a train in cold weather.
Yeah, you have a bad injector.
Bad injector?
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you this question. When are you going to come up with Detroit 60 Series injectors?
Well, probably never, because Bosch kind of has the corner on that market. You just can't rebuild them for better price than you can get them from Bosch. And I mean, Highway and Heavy Parts carries Bosch injectors as well for the best price. That's where I get all mine, and they're quick to warranty them if you have a problem. That's the main reason I go there, because it's so hard to get an injector. Get 6 of them without one of them being bad. Somebody else says PDI has them. They're probably all made by Bosch, though. They're the only ones that make them that I know of.
Are they remans, or are they
oh yeah,
brand new original?
No.
Okay. Because I've heard, this is, you've done it more than I have, and for sure, I've heard like people have really bad experience with buying rebuilt ones that, fail. Or
it's also not uncommon to have a truck smoke when it's cold anyway. And somebody commented that a Detroit will smoke when it's cold, but so will cats. Lots of them will smoke when they're cold. The fuel's not all getting burnt once they get up to operating temperature. If the problem goes away when it gets up to operating temperature, you have to remember that mechanical problems don't come and go. And so if the problem's coming and going, you might be chasing a problem that's not even a problem. But you can also have one bad injector, and it will seem like the problem goes away once it gets up to operating temperature, because all the other 5 run so efficiently that the problem will seem like it magically goes away, but you still have a bad injector. But what you're talking about is injector problems, almost 100% positive.
Okay. Yeah, because it's kind of concerning to me, because I had 500,000 on the rebuild. Anyways, and then we took it apart because the head gasket started leaking oil from the front galley up front. And then when we looked at the cylinders after 500,000, they looked pretty worn / like. Anyways, and then I wanted to last another 500,000, but Detroit 60 Series rebuild should last a little bit longer than that, Anyways, and that was my concern after putting all this money into it, as could it be an injector, but then not knowing, anyways, buying something that's crap out there. But Highway Parts are saying they have pretty good parts, yeah.
Well, so like I tend to default that everybody has pretty good parts, right? And okay. Everybody's always going to have, you're always going to find somebody that has something bad to say about every part manufacturer out there. That's a fact. Somebody is going to say something bad about them. But the fact of the matter is that I use everybody. And I wouldn't say any of them are bad. What I always focus in on is who I'm sourcing the parts from, right? So like if I get some Bosch injectors from my local Peterbilt, and you come here to my shop and I put them in, you drive to Chicago, let's say, and you have problems, they're not going to do shit for us, right? You're going to have to buy new injectors, and you and I are going to go through this whole shit show. Whereas if I buy them from Highway and Heavy Parts, I can find out where you're at, overnight them to you. They'll overnight them to you, and we take care of you together, and then I just deal with them on the back end. I worry more about that, right? And that's kind of why I was suggesting them, is because if you buy 6 of them from them, one of them's a piece of shit, they're just going to replace it like immediately without some kind of big ass argument. And that's so much more valuable to me, because you're going to have problems. It's just the way it is, right?
No, I respect that, and that's what I like. I like to build a relationship for long term, for sure. That makes sense.
So
okay, well, we'll try that.
I wanted to throw you a piece of advice. You said you're a young guy and you're new into this. And I've been ridiculed lately for a post I made about the tariffs, but I want to give you a word of advice and take it from a guy with gray hair that's getting a lot of gray in his beard, that's been through 3 collapses and owned businesses through all of them. If you don't own your stuff outright, make your payments out if you're capable at all, somewhere as far as you can, 6 months, a year. You need to be in a position, and you should be in this. All truck drivers, if you own a trucking company, especially if you're a smaller one, 2 or 3 trucks or something like that, or 10 trucks or whatever it might be, you have to be in a position to park your trucks. If you are not in a position to park your trucks, the odds of you going under are incredibly high. You have to be in a position where you can cut the insurance, park the trucks, do something else until it's profitable to run them again. If you are driving for free to try and make your payments, you will not own a trucking company on the other side.
Yeah. You have a couple more minutes for me?
Shoot.
I know you. Okay. Here's what I'm going to tell you something, a little bit of my story. The reason why I respect you, 100% you're right. When I was a kid, I was driving to work my construction job out of high school, and I came across Dave Ramsey. And you probably heard of him.
Sure.
And if it wasn't for him and what you're saying right now, I would have shut my doors a long time ago. I don't own a single penny to anybody.
Good for you.
What you preach is 100% right. It's 100% right. That's the only reason why I'm surviving. If I had a truck payments, I'd be dead.
Yep.
That's the honest truth.
I think what you're...
Yeah. One more.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. No, I interrupted you.
So what I was going to say is what I think. This is my prediction. I think that it's going to get so bad over the next 6 months that most small-time trucking companies will not exist on the other side. That's what I think is going to happen. I genuinely believe that.
I think you're right, and we'll see what happens. But after listening to that interview that you did with your son, I really like the fact that I took an example from that where you're saying prepay stuff forward. So I'm going to pay my lease up for a year. So I'm going to stocking up on parts. Just what you're saying for that. I 100% agree with you.
It would blow your mind if you came here, man. We have so much shit I stockpiled just so I can attempt to keep my prices the same and help as and just try to stay as normal as possible. And I also ran out and bought a pile of engines, and we're building a bunch of 6NZs and 640 builds, and I'm building some N14s and some Detroits while the parts are still cheap. And we're building whole engines and long blocks right now. I'm going to be letting people know I have them, and I'm not going to jack the prices on them through the roof. I'm going to keep them at the price that we built them at today. And I did all that because I know I just got a flyer or a pamphlet from my local supplier here that told me that in like 7 days, my prices are going up across the board 40% and up to 140%.
It's crazy. And we bought an alternator that we used to get for like $350, $400. It was $700 from Freightliner up here in the Northwest. It's crazy.
Yeah, the bigger problem is going to be all the truckers out of work. But go ahead, man. Throw me that last one. I got 2 more callers.
Yep. DD15s. Unfortunately, this is the only 60 series that I run. That was my original truck that I bought, and I'm running all DD15s. I'd like to work with you maybe because I got 3 cores sitting on the ground. Obviously, they go, liner cracked, coolant, anything. I don't touch them because I'm afraid of them. And then I've heard that you had a bad experience, so I don't want to get into that. Do you actually rebuild them? Like, actually do the rebuild? And what does that cost? And and a cost.
After I rebuilt, after we had that shit show that can literally cost me over $100,000, if I wasn't set up the way that I am, it would have put me under, quite literally. But we did rebuild some after that. We did a couple after that, and it was almost like I had to do a couple more just to prove to myself we could do it, right? And we have some DD15s running around right now, but I used Worldwide Diesel, and they sold me they're the ones that sold me that Long Block Plus I was able to finally make it work for this guy. And the price that they sold me that Long Block Plus for, I can't even build one myself for you for what they did that to me for. So everybody that calls us with DD15s now, we just give them a price for a Long Block Plus, and we'll do the swap and swap all the parts over for them. But if you have 3 cores there, man, you need to get a hold of Worldwide Diesel. They'll take those cores off your hand in a heartbeat and credit them towards you getting yourself a drop in. They saw a Long Block Plus, and I mean, and that's they specialize in that engine. And they're the guys, man. And so that's what we do now, because I mean, just the overhaul kit and the head and all that is astronomically expensive, even for me. It's more cost effective and way faster for my customer to just get a Long Block Plus from them, because that's what they do, and drop it in. And then the last couple DD15s that we've done here, that's how we did it. And that's how I'm going to do them in the future. It's I understand not everybody has the equipment to pull it out of the truck and swap it. You got to do the bell housing, you got to do the front, you got to do all the gears. It's still quite a bit of work, but it's nowhere near the work of rebuilding the entire thing and buying all those parts. And it's way faster. We're talking the downtime is like 10 days versus the downtime's like 3-4 weeks, because I refuse to do a DD15 for anybody unless they're willing to let me do an out of frame on it, because you can't get to the damn gears. Yeah, and our first one failed because the lash was too tight. I saw a bunch of guys commenting in that video I made saying, "Oh, you can't get them out of time," and I never said it was out of time. Well, maybe I did say it was out of time, and that's not what I meant. The lash was so tight that it just ate the gear up.
Yeah, no. Yeah, up here in the Northwest, nobody will touch them. What I've been doing is, because I've had a few fail, I just buy a wreck truck, low miles, but the low miles ones up to 2020 are hard to find. So that's why I got 3 good cores. You need to find another option,
Well, those cores, those cores are worth something to those guys. It's Worldwide Diesel. Find them on TikTok.
Yeah.
Send them a message. They'll get a hold of you. They're cool guys.
Okay.
They're great guys. I use them all the time.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to tell you, hey, thank you very much. God bless you. You're doing awesome. And I appreciate your time. I really do.
Good luck, brother.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah.
All right. 2 more guys. Josh, you're on the air. Let's go.
Hey, how's it going, boss? Hey, quick question for you, man. I need some help on a C15 ACERT. It's in a Kenworth T600. I can't get the EGTs down, so I've taken the CAC, got that changed all the boots, checked the turbos, but my EGT gauge just keeps rising on me. It goes up to 1,100-1,200, and if I don't let off of it, it just keeps rising.
You still have the twin turbos?
Yeah, twin turbos.
So that thing should never go over 800.
Yeah, that thing just. So my next guess I was going to see is
there's only a couple ways your EGTs could be getting hot on an ACERT. Number one, obviously you have a bunch of boost leaks, but we've already determined that's not it. The number one cause is if it has the factory exhaust system on it. If you've never straight piped it,
does.
Then there's nothing left to talk about. Straight pipe it, the problem will go away.
I'll do that.
The ACERT came with catalytic converters, and they only last about 15 or so years, and they absolutely are ruined, and it can't breathe, and you'll burn it up.
Got it. Then that's probably it. It still has the stock exhaust on it.
Guaranteed that's it.
All
right, brother.
Perfect, man. Appreciate it.
Yep, bye.
Thank you.
Second one tonight. Holy cow. Yeah, those ACERTs, man, that catalytic converter, you can get a spark arrestor for those too. That just slides right in. Hello.
Brad. Hey, how you doing? So I got an ISX Cummins.
I'm sorry.
It's 2007. Yeah.
Talk to you. Did you go?
So I hate this thing. So it was leaking oil, and I figured out that the drain pan was cracked. And I was going to do it myself just because I own 2 trucks, and it's me and one other guy. It's me and my dad. And so I was going to do it here at my house, and I dropped the pan, and then I figured out I couldn't get it out because of the front sump was in the way. And then I figured more out that you had to drop the axle and everything else to get the pan out.
Well, yeah.
So I took it up the road to a guy.
You have to jack the chassis up independent of the axle, and it will come out. We have to do it all the time. You don't drop the axle. That would be insane.
Yeah, not necessarily drop the axle, but yeah, for lack of a better term. Yeah. So I took it to a guy up the road here, and they got it swapped out for me in, no time. But he came to me, and he brought me 2 pieces of metal and an O-ring. And it almost looked like a flat washer, like just a piece of a flat washer, 2 pieces. And it looked like they had gotten hot, like one side like discolored and the other side looks like it's stainless. And he told me that it could possibly be the end of an injector. And I didn't know how much truth there was to that, because I'm thinking, in my mind, well, there wasn't fuel in the oil or fuel in the antifreeze. I'm not a mechanic, so I don't know.
No. No. How would it get in the oil pan?
That's what I was wondering. I don't know how it would have made its way all the way to the bottom of the pan.
It wouldn't.
I'd have figured something like that would have fell off in the cylinder and, smacked a valve or something at that rate.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly what it would have done. And it would have never ended up in the oil pan. You would have dropped some valves. So anyway, what did it look like again?
It almost looked like a flat washer. But it was just, just like somebody took a pair of dikes and just cut a section of a washer off. And there was 2 of them. And an O-ring. That's what bothers me, is that O-ring being in there. I'm like, ugh.
Well, has this thing ever been overhauled?
The guys that owned it before us, I got all the paperwork on the motor and stuff. They overhauled it at $800,000, and it's got 1.2 on it right now.
That stuff might be in there from that time.
And and that guy brought that up too. He said it may have been something from that time, or, time before they may have done something. And the guy told me, and how much truth there is to it, I don't know. It's got that, it's got the early automatic in it with a clutch pedal.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy told me that I could cut a hole in the floor and pull that shifter out of the top of the transmission and just put a stick in it. Would that be something that somebody could do, or is that not?
I don't think so. So you have an auto shift? Like it has a slave.
Yeah.
It has a slave on top, and it's actually a manual transmission that has a little robot that shifts for you.
Pretty much. It's when you get in the truck, you push the clutch in, and then it's got a D in, and then R.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a manual shift mode, and you push D, let out on the clutch, and go.
Yeah.
And I absolutely hate it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that one's the easiest one to convert to a manual, but you can't convert that transmission to a manual that I know of. Like you could put a manual in there, and it would be doable.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, yeah, that's a good question. What's the diameter of the washer? How big is this washer?
It might be half an inch long, maybe, if that, a little less, maybe a quarter of an inch, eighth of an inch in thickness. But I mean, it looks like somebody just cut a piece of a flat washer off. You know what I mean?
I mean, the only place I know of
it's wild looking.
The only place I know of washers under there really is your main cap washers.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember. Well, I mean, your stiffener plate and all that might have washers, but I don't know. I mean, if you got something that came apart on a grand scale like that, I would think you would know it would be showing its face at this point. I'm not sure if I'd be too worried about it.
Yeah, that's what me and my dad talked about. I was like, well, we've been driving it this long, you know, and it gave us really no problems until now. But that oil leaking like it was, and we had an oil cooler go bad on it, and we got all that fixed. And we haven't really had any other problem out of it until now.
One of the guys that works for me says those are compression washers. Those are fuel washer seals. The O-rings are not a problem in the oil pan. It's just a lazy install. He's probably right.
Mm-hmm. So
it's probably not a problem, man.
He said a fuel yeah. What did he say was a fuel compression?
Yeah, compression washer for the fuel.
Okay.
Yep.
I shouldn't really worry about it there.
Probably not. All right, brother. Well, okay. I'm going to get this wrapped up. Oh.
Yeah, dude. I sure do appreciate your time, man.
Yep. Have a good night, man.
Yep. You too. Thanks.
Bye. All right, guys. Craig Caldwell said he had a couple questions, but he missed his chance. Brother, man, I'm going to do this every Wednesday until people stop calling or until I just get sick of it. Diesel Beast, I want to thank you, of course, for being a moderator and apparently all the feeds. Do appreciate that. And I appreciate the participation. I do like streaming the comments. That was very helpful. Appreciate all you guys in the comment sections. I can't really see TikTok as well. It's not very interactive because they can't hear the caller, but over here on Facebook and YouTube, you guys are able to participate quite a bit and help me answer quite a bit of questions. That was very much appreciated. I'm not one of those guys that wants to ignore any help I can get and just pretend like I'm going to know it all. Got quite a few questions answered just out of the comment section. That was great. Great. Going forward, we'll make sure that we do it like that, where I'm monitoring the comments. That was much more helpful. We're getting better and better at this for sure. Have a cold start question. How cold is cold? Well, depends. If you're in Alaska, the coldest I've ever had to start trucks up in Alaska was right around 50 below ambient. But anyway, guys, is 80 degrees still a cold start? You bet it is. If you want to get technical, anything under operating temperature, which is about 180 degrees, is considered cold. So, in fact, here's a crazy little factoid for you guys. Since we have been in Texas, we see more trucks that have been wet stacked than we used to see in Alaska. And that is because Texans never think about it. And Alaskans are thinking about it all the time. So we see more cold weather, or cold operating, I should say, not cold weather, but we see more cold operating damage in Texas trucks than we saw in northern trucks. Let that blow your mind. And it's just because people in the north are raised, born and bred in the cold, and it's on their mind all the time. So can you harm your engine at 80 degrees? You damn right you can. Damn right you can, guys. Anyway, that's it. I'm going to go home and hang out with my family. My fit for tonight was Death to Tyrants, if you don't know Latin. Kind of like this shirt. You guys have a good night. Love you long time. Thanks for coming. I really feel like these are getting better and better, and I look forward to seeing you guys next week. A lot of fun. Have a good night.